On my kicker tonight, I share the platform with a close and longtime friend, an advocate, an activist, and blazing thinker, Njonjo Mue. For those who know Njonjo Mue for things other than his political conscience, social awareness, and intellectual brilliance, lend me an ear for the next few. The man who held my hand in some foreign lands in my early years of this career is a ferocious writer of a quality we journalists would frankly envy. And he churns out his literature in deadline-busting speeds. And for those who have come across some of that literature, the depth is always unfailingly profound. And if you've ever met him, Njonjo Mue burns with a passion for country and patriotic zeal for the greater good of fellow countrymen. With Madaraka Day just a week away, I cannot, beyond here, resist the temptation, if not duty, to share some of Njonjo Mue's compelling persuasions. In one of his latest writings, Njonjo Mue titles his article, "The Messiah Within, Redeeming the Soul of the Kenyan Nation." In a threefold rallying call to the youth, Njonjo Mue yearns for the day men can leave the bars long enough to know what their children will eat for supper, for women to cease their escapism and confront the problems facing Kenyan communities, and for all Kenyans to individually take responsibility for the future of their country. Then he ponders what he terms a Kenyan identity crisis and asks the youth some pointed questions. What is your identity? And what is the real connection that you have with this place called Kenya? What makes you proud to be a Kenyan? If you had a choice among all the multiple identities that you bear, would you choose to retain or would you choose to drop your Kenyan identity? Why and why not? He then invokes the country's independence struggle and wonders whether the glue that held the independence generation is still strong to bind us. The answer, he writes, seems clearly to be in the negative, for everywhere we are surrounded by depressing and alarming evidence which indicates that the social compact that once defined Kenya is quickly coming apart. The demon, he says, of political tribalism continues to rear its ugly head with reckless abandon. Politicians, he says, declare that it is their turn to eat and then form all sorts of alliances to prepare for division of the spoils. The politicians appear determined to fight it out to the end, he says, grabbing for power without caring if the nation falls apart in the process. We, therefore, he writes, continue to wander aimlessly in the wilderness of despair, longing for our land of promise, but not even the mirage of social cohesion appears on our troubled horizon. To the youth, Njonjo Mue writes, the generation before us appears to have run out of ideas on how to do this. This is hardly surprising, he says, considering that those who call the shots have been on the scene forever. Many of them are exhausted, old in ideas, if not in age, and without a real stake in the future of our country. It is now up to us, Njonjo says, that the youth has to take a stand and impose an environment of order and start to define a new vision for the country that we call home and march decisively towards our collective sustainable future. Njonjo Mue then writes about the next big assignment of every young Kenyan. He calls it the fundamental task of reconstructing the soul of our nation. It is an expense which he says defines what the essence of being Kenyan is. Then he poses questions. What is the soul of our nation? What are the ties that bind us? What are the criteria for belonging? What are the core values and beliefs that make us who we are, about our diverse ethnic nationalities, and beneath our common citizenship of the human family? pertinent questions as the country gears to the 60th anniversary of Madaraka, self-rule. Just one disheartening detail. Njonjo Mue actually posed these questions 22 years ago, precisely in July 2001. Just how so little changes. Keep the questions coming, my friend Njonjo Mue. That is my kicker.